It's extremely important to be involved in local politics, much more than it is that who's the freaking president of the United States. I care what the shit show is doing, but if Lynn is not aware of the fact that they're getting ready to build a data center in her backyard and that's going to impact her more than what it is the shit show is doing, then shame on her.
While we're all glued to our phones watching the political circus in D.C., something much colder and louder is moving into our backyards. I'm talking about the massive oxy-black monoliths of steel and silicon, data centers, AI hubs, the engines of the future. But here's what they aren't telling you on the evening news. These buildings don't just breathe data, they breathe our nitrogen oxide. They don't just process code, they gulp down millions of gallons of our water. And if you're looking at the map, they aren't building them in the suburbs. They're targeting Memphis. They're targeting Atlanta. They're targeting South Fulton. It's a calculated move. They're betting on our silence. They're betting we're too tired, too busy, or too distracted by the national headlines to notice the sacrifice zones being drawn in our zip codes. They offer us jobs, but they take our breath. They promise innovation, but they deliver an inhaler. Today, we're pulling back the curtain of the infrastructure of displacement. From the toxic air in Tennessee to the digital suppression on your TikTok feed, we're asking the question, what does it cost to power a world that doesn't want you to see the truth? Proximity is not power. Engagement is. Let's get into it.
I want to talk more about the infrastructure and the politics with AI, because I mentioned Memphis and I mentioned South Fulton. Both of those are predominantly Black areas. And it's not a coincidence that they're building these huge data centers in predominantly African-American areas. And the fascinating thing was, having traveled to the great state of Virginia, and you can't travel throughout Northern Virginia and not see the data centers that are there. Northern Virginia is predominantly white, to be fair. And it's huge with respect to military. If you start thinking about the investments that are being made in communities, they're predominantly being built in Black communities. And for me, I look at the harmful impacts of that from a political standpoint. Because we have to talk about the health. We have no idea the health issues that are going to come down the pike with respect to having data centers in our communities. What say you about that?
Well, I'll say this. So when you sent me the episode notes, I was sitting on the couch all wrapped up watching one of my favorite winter things, Psych. And so I said, I don't know anything about this. So I started doing some research and I was like, what the Flint, Michigan? I'm sorry, guys and Sean, I don't need to get right back to you. I need to Aaron Brockovich this. What? This is crazy. So when I looked at it, one of the things that first stood out to me, I was like, okay, so they're having all of these issues in Memphis and people are upset because of what it's doing to the air quality and things. And I was like, why wouldn't they just build it in Texas? Elon Musk has huge facilities here. So I'm researching it and I looked at it and what a data center is going to require. So the nonstop electricity. And there's other things like the water for cooling, backup generators, blah, blah. The nonstop electricity stopped me and I said, that's why. When we had our snowmageddon a few years ago and our power grid essentially stopped and we were without power or rolling power for a week in central Texas and we're getting ready to have a governor's race, there is no way in HE double hockey sticks he was going to allow that here. Because if you think that you're getting ready to do the same thing that you did, and I can't remember, was it 2021, whatever it was, you lost. Because I'll tell you one thing, there's something about Texas, and this is even outside of liberal Austin. When we become uncomfortable, you got a problem. And we were extremely uncomfortable. If you think that you're getting ready to build a data center, you're never going to build it in Austin. That's not going to happen. And there are not enough Black communities. Houston, never going to happen.
Well, you brought up Memphis, and the thing that I'm always cognizant of is the nitrogen oxide that is produced with these data centers that can have an impact on the respiratory aspects of the communities. Kids that are born now or adults 10 years from now, when they start showing up in the hospital with these respiratory illnesses,
That's my problem.
And they're going to be, okay, well, why are we seeing such an influx of individuals who look a certain way, having these respiratory illnesses? And we can have a through line that's going back to the data centers. The other thing that you mentioned in terms of the political aspect, and this is why it's important, it's extremely important to be involved in local politics, much more than it is that who's the freaking president of the United States. I care what the shit show is doing, but if Lynn is not aware of the fact that they're getting ready to build a data center in her backyard, and that's going to impact her more than what it is the shit show is doing, then shame on her. So from that aspect, the reason that they're able to build these data centers in these communities is because we're not engaged. Because we're not going to the town halls. And then because we're not holding the individuals who are coming in our freaking community and saying, hey, we're going to allow Amazon or Grok to build this data center, and that's going to bring jobs to us. And that's good because we're going to give them the tax breaks to do that. And we're just looking at the fact that, oh, they're giving us jobs, they're giving us tax breaks, and we're not asking the question, well, what is it going to cost my child 5 or 10 years from now?
It's not an accident, and that's my problem. It was intentional that you went into these communities where they're economically vulnerable, where they're desperate for investment, where they are politically eager for revitalization. You did this intentionally, and you are harming these kids. That's my problem. That's the problem I have.
So how do we, as a community, go into, if you're talking about Baltimore, Memphis, Louisiana, if you talk about Atlanta on the South Side, how do we start having conversations with our elected officials to bring this up and say, I'm aware of what it is that you're doing, and I want you to treat my community like you would treat yours?
In my opinion, it's going to require grassroots, and it's going to require going door to door and educating people. And the people that don't have access, they don't have time, they just don't. They don't know what they don't know, right? It's going to require other people to go into those communities and educate them, to have town halls in the churches, in the barbershops, in the whatever. It has to be a ground game, because what's happening is that message from the mayors, the whatever, that don't have their best interest at heart are saying, oh, we're going to bring jobs to you. Okay, then, and what? What else you bringing to me? Because I may not want everything you're bringing to me. I don't want to go to the free clinic. I don't want to go there. I like your flowers, but I don't know what else you bringing to me.
You talked about also the utility aspect in terms of light bills. I can't imagine the amount of electricity and the water. I mean, yeah, obviously, the earth has a lot of water. We understand that. But the amount of water that these things utilize or need to be able to function is massive. And so the question becomes, if you are using that much water, that water has to go back somewhere, right? And so if we're recycling the water, then we're putting chemicals in the water that could potentially be harmful, not only to you as an individual, but to the environment and the animals and the entire ecosystem that makes a viable living community. So at what particular point do we go enough with these massive data centers in our communities that are harming us? At what point do we do that?
Well, it is the old thing that we always deal with, that we want things now, immediate gratification. We don't want to think about what's going to happen down the line. And one of the things I looked at when I was doing this research on this is that Memphis already has respiratory and high rates of respiratory and asthma. So when we were talking about when the kids get older and they're having all of these respiratory issues, they'll just say, well, you've always had that. How can you prove that it has anything to do? So it's the intentionality of going into these communities where people don't have the political power, they don't have the masses to say no, and they don't really have the economic independence to say no, because we need jobs.
Yeah.
And if you're not bringing this, which job are you bringing? Because I need to feed my family today. I can buy an inhaler tomorrow.
I take your point on that. But so political aspect, we do need to get more involved, regardless of whether or not we can donate to a campaign. We can knock on doors. We can get individuals to vote against an individual. And that's even more powerful than him or her running an ad or us giving them money to run an ad. The other thing that we would be remiss about if we did not talk about AI in politics, and we mentioned the shit show, is some of the images that are being utilized out of this White House with respect to AI and how they are doctoring images. There was a story that came out last week. It was about a young lady that they doctored an image on, and that fed the news cycle for full 48, 72 hours in terms of, okay, this is, they're eating our cats, they're eating our dogs, they're doing all these wonderful things. And you have the shit show who's putting out this AI generated stuff, and you have individuals who are not smart enough, or they are not savvy enough, or they don't give a damn, and they're looking at that and they're going, I did see Lynn eating that cat. So if the shit show sent it out, then literally Lynn's a cat eater.
Okay, so when do we hold the media responsible? You can't put out news feeds of things that you're not vetting and that you're not looking at, right? So,
but hold on. If you look at the media, Musk owns Twitter. You have Zuckerberg that owns Facebook.
Okay.
You have your guy in Texas, the Oracle guy in Houston, that owns TikTok now. You have Bezos. They're buying all of the media outlets. And so part of what they're able to do is, if I don't like an image or if I don't like the story that's being told, I can demand that this particular story is told, and this particular story is all you see when you sign up or you log into X, Y, and Z. The other thing that stood out, obviously, we have the craziness that's going on in Minnesota.
Yes.
The thing that stood out for me, and we knew was coming down the pike, as soon as they announced that the guys from Oracle were going to be owning TikTok, I said, watch what happens. So what apparently is happening with TikTok is the guys who are on the ground in Minnesota who are trying to upload images of what's happening there, that stuff is being suppressed. And the suppression just began because they formally got hold of TikTok last week. So right as they got hold of TikTok, you have images that would normally be uploaded on TikTok aren't able to get through because you have the wonderful guys that now own it, Larry Ellison and his spawn, suppressing the images. What say you about that?
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that, because that's a huge problem. I mean, it's brilliant. If I were on the other side, I'm like, yes, let's control everything. That way we can feed people the way we want to.
So what's the point? The point is that we are living through a new kind of land grab, been conditioned to think of the cloud as this ethereal, invisible thing that just exists in the air. But as we discussed today, the cloud is physical. It's made of steel, is powered by our grids, and is cooled by our water. And most importantly, it has an address. In 2026, those addresses are increasingly being found in Black neighborhoods, places like South Memphis and South Fulton. This isn't a coincidence. It's a strategy. They're betting that these sacrifice zones are too economically hungry to say no and too politically disconnected to fight back. The point is that innovation shouldn't come at the cost of a child's ability to read or a child's ability to breathe. When you build a data center that pumps nitrogen oxide in a community already struggling with asthma, you aren't bringing progress. You're bringing a predatory trade-off. We're being told we're getting jobs, but we're actually getting a front row seat to our own displacement. If you are more worried about what's happening on a stage in DC than what's being permitted at your local council, you're missing the play. This show is a distraction. The server farm in your backyard is the reality. And the point is that this infrastructure isn't just physical, it's digital. When the same billionaires who own the servers also own the platforms where we tell our stories, you don't control anything. They control the power, and they control the truth. When images of what's happening on the ground in places like Minnesota start disappearing or failing to upload the second ownership changes hands, we have to realize that proximity to technology is not the same thing as having power over it. They want our land for their servers, but they don't want our voices on their apps. The point is simple. Stay awake. Stop looking at the national headlines and start looking at the zoning boards. Stop accepting investment that requires your community to be a sacrifice. We have to be intentional about our protection as they are about their expansion. Proximity is not power. Information is only power if you use it to protect your home. And that's the point. Keep building your own table, because the one they're setting for us is not worth the seat. While you're out and about this week, make the time to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, take the time to do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening and spending your time with us on I Take Your Point. For more unfiltered conversations like this, click the link in the description. Huge thank you to our production team. We couldn't do this without you. Quick disclaimer, the views shared are those of the host and guest and are for informational purposes only, not professional advice. Keep building your own table, take care, and be well.